Welcome to African United. Each one teach one. Please subscribe to our channel and hit notification button for the future updates. Thank you very much in advance.
One thing that keeps me puzzled, despite having studied finance and economics at the world's best universities, the following question remains unanswered. Why is it that 5,000 units of our currency is worth 1 unit of your currency, where we are the ones with the actual gold reserves? It's quite evident that the aid is in fact not coming from the West to Africa, but from Africa to the Western world. The Western world depends on Africa in every possible way, since alternative resources are scarce out here. So how does the West ensure that the free aid keeps coming? By systematically destabilizing the wealthiest African nations and their systems, and all that backed by huge PR campaigns, leaving the entire world under the impression that Africa is poor and dying and merely surviving on the mercy of the West. Well done, Oxfam, UNICEF, Red Cross, Life Aid, and all the other organizations that continuously run multi-million-dollar advertisement campaigns depicting charity porn to sustain that image of Africa globally. Ad campaigns paid for by innocent people under the impression to help with their donations. While one hand gives under the flashing lights of cameras, the other takes in the shadows. We all know the dollar is worthless, while the euro is merely charged with German intellect and technology, and maybe some Italian pasta. How can one expect donations from nations that have so little? It's super sweet of you to come with your colored paper in exchange for our gold and diamonds. But instead, you should come empty-handed, filled with integrity and honor. We want to share with you our wealth and invite you to share with us. The perception is that a healthy and striving Africa would not disperse its resources as freely and cheaply, which is logical. Of course, it would instead sell its resources at world market prices, which in turn would destabilize and weaken Western economies, established on the post-colonial free meal system. Last year, the IMF reports that 6 out of 10 of the world's fastest growing economies are in Africa, measured by their GDP growth. The French Treasury, for example, is receiving about $500 billion year in, year out. Foreign exchange reserves from African countries based on colonial debt they forced them to pay. Former French President Jacques Chirac stated in an interview recently that we have to be honest and acknowledge that a big part of the money in our banks comes precisely from the exploitation of the African continent. In 2008, he stated that without Africa, France will slide down in the rank of a third world power. This is what happens in the human world, the world we have created. Have you ever wondered how things work in nature? One would assume that in evolution the fittest survives. However, in nature, any species that is overhunting, overexploiting the resources they depend on as nourishment, natural selection would sooner or later take the predator out because it offsets the balance.
I would like to seize this opportunity to present the congratulations to our son Obama, because this is the first time that he is attending with us the General Assembly in his capacity as the President of the United States. and we greet him because it is the hosting country of this gathering. Superpowers have interests, complicated interests, and they use the interests, they use the Security Council, they use the power of the United Nations to protect their interests. And these terrorize and intimidate the third world. The third world is terrified and being terrorized and living under the fear of terror. The Security Council, ever since it was established in 1949, did not provide us with security, but provided us, on the contrary, terror and sanctions. It is used against us only. For this reason, we are not committed to adhere to the Security Council resolutions after this speech of the 40th anniversary. As regards Africa, Dr. Ali Tureki, if you want to reform, whether they reform the United Nations or rewrite it not, and even before you take any historic decisions against, or vote against the decision, Africa needs from now permanent member seats in the Security Council, because this is an outstanding. Even if we are not talking about the United Nations reform, Africa was colonized, was isolated, was persecuted, was usurped, was treated like animals, was treated like slaves, was treated colonies, was colonized, was put under the trusteeship. These countries, the African Union, deserves a permanent seat for the past. It's an outstanding bill to be paid, like China. And it has nothing to do with the United Nations reforms. This is a priority and high on the agenda for the General Assembly. And no one can say that the African Union does not deserve a permanent seat. I want to save the peoples of America and the peoples of Britain, the peoples of other countries who are fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. I tell them, leave Afghanistan to the Afghans, leave the Iraqi to the Iraqis. If they want to fight each other, they are free. There was civil war in America, and no one interfered in the civil war of America. There was a civil war in America, but there was a civil war in Spain, in China, civil war in everywhere, and nowhere on earth there was no civil war in it. Let there be a civil war in Iraq. Let the Iraqis want to have a civil war, fight each other, that's fair enough. How come that we keep quiet? No, we shall never be devils. Anyone who does not speak the truth is a silent devil. We are committed to peace, world peace and security, and we want to despise the mankind, and we don't want to ridicule mankind, and we want to save the mankind and humanity. And then the killing of Martin Luther King, this black reverend, a human rights activist, his killing was a plot, and we should know why he was killed and who killed him.
The destiny of humanity, the struggle of the third world, the struggle of small nations should live in peace to the end. God, peace be upon you.
How can only a handful of people, in fact it's only America and the Europeans, those who say they are white-skinned, because they are white-skinned, anybody else who is not like us shall not have the power and strength, integrity that we have. If the United Nations is to survive, we must be equal members of it. Equal members who can say, when we go to the body, that we are now speaking truly as members with a voice that's understood, respected, and honored. So I wonder whether you have told them that we also are humans. We are supposed to be free and independent, Mr. Ban Ki-moon. Supposed to be free, the 54 countries. We come to the United Nations, it's ceremonial. Every year, September, we are there. We pay lots of money to go there. And the General Assembly, we make speeches, we go back home, year in, year out. But the bosses in the Security Council say, you shall never have the powers that we have as permanent members. And we have asked and asked and asked. And asked and asked. Reform the Security Council. I want to tell you, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, you are a good man. You are a good man. But of course, we can't make you a fighter. That's not what your mission was. We will fight a fight for our own identity, for our own integrity and personality as Africans. We are Africans.
The thing is that, as far as I'm concerned, since we met you people 500 years ago, look at us. We've given everything. You are still taking. It's true. I mean, where will the whole Western world be without Africa? Our cocoa, our timber, our gold, our diamonds, our platinum, our whatever. Everything you are is us. I am not saying it, it's a fact. And in return for all of this, what have we got? Nothing. Anti-personnel indoctrination against ourselves. If you go and cook your horrible diseases like AIDS, you say it is us. You brought us tuberculosis. We didn't have this big cough until white people came here. In exchange for Africa giving Europe 500 solid years of our people, I mean not Europe, the Western world, of our human beings to work your canes, to dig your gold, to take in gold itself, diamond, I mean, you know, fish, peanuts, palm oil, everything. In exchange for that, we have got nothing. Nothing. And you know it. Nothing. And you look upon, you know, white folks look upon us like monkeys. It is true. It's in your literature. Hey, you know, some of your best thinkers have said this about us. Have you heard of all these Germans? Have you heard? Okay. Yes. They said, Lord Burton, yes. People like that, they said, we don't even have the brain of animals. That's what we've got from you people.
But don't you think that this is over now?
Over where? Is it over? Who said that AIDS came from the green monkey? Is it over? Is it over?
Well, if this is your impression, do you think that you can ever forgive us?
It's not a question of forgiveness. I have nothing against you. My point is that you did and you are doing for your survival what is necessary. We can't blame you for that. The fact that we didn't do enough for our own survival and we are still not doing enough for our survival, that is not your problem. You know, even everybody that God has created has a sense of survival, you know, and if we don't develop it, we can't blame white people. You came here because you needed these things. You took gunpowder from the Chinese. You needed them to shoot people.